With that being said, please help me welcome my daughter, Jessica Almeida.
I'm old. Thank you, Dad, for that introduction. I would like to start off by thanking President Tim Ryan for having me today. It's a privilege to be able to speak with you guys. And I would like to thank the Rotary Club of Miami for sponsoring me on this brigade to Honduras with the Global Medical Brigades organization, and for Diane Landsberg for approving it. Basically, Global Medical Brigades goes to one of either three countries, Nicaragua, Panama, or Honduras. And last summer, we went to Honduras. As a 19-year-old living in Miami, I hear about poverty and I read about poverty, but I never really did any humanitarian work dealing with it, so I really never experienced it firsthand. And I was fortunate enough to be selected, one of the 10 students in Florida and one of the 50 students in the United States to go to Honduras and do this project. We flew out, the 10 of us in Miami, we flew out to Atlanta airport, connecting flight, and then we went to Tegucigalpa airport in Honduras, the capital, which is a very rocky landing, but it's scary and it's nothing like the one that nothing like our airports in the United States. It's very culture shock. We were received by our Global Medical Brigade's staff members in Tegucigalpa Airport, and we traveled around 2.5 hours to where we would stay, which is a house that you will be seeing in the video shortly. A video of around 4.5 hours footage that my dad was able to edit in about 10 minutes. Spielberg. And it'll explain to you, and you can see a little bit of what I did there. For the first day, they showed us around the communities that we would be working with, and we had families speak to us, and we got instructions on what we would be doing in the communities. The families were very, very grateful. It's a different level of gratitude that we receive here in the United States. Over there, it's more genuine. You feel like they're very actually happy and proud that you came to help them. We feel like we're doing a little effort or a little change in their lives, but in reality, we're changing their lives forever, and we don't realize it because for us, what seems so minimal is huge in their eyes. So for the first day, we visited the community, and they showed us around, very rural, very a lot of hiking, very bad conditions. And for the second day, we spent it sorting out all the medications that we brought. We would bring medications from the U.S. In bulks, and everything was in English and in 1,000 tablets, 1,000 capsules. And so we would all sit down, all 50 of us, with our gloves and our sanitations, and we'd sort out the medications in about 30-day quantities and place labels on them in Spanish so the families would be able to understand, because it's in English and they only speak Spanish. And then the medical brigade formally began the next day, when we would travel around 2 hours to a school, 3 different schools, and each time the number increased in the amount of people who were there. The first day it was around 400 people, second day it was around 450 people, and the last day, there's a clip in the video you'll see, I say that there's 517 people in one day that we helped, which is truly amazing because the communities don't have hospitals near their communities, and so without us they wouldn't have this attention or this medical attention and this opportunity. Each school was set up in 6 different sections. So there was triage, where we would ask them about their family history, and I was lucky enough to understand, or I know how to speak Spanish and Portuguese and English, and so I would translate for those of the people who didn't understand or speak Spanish, and I would translate to them what their symptoms were. And then there was consultations where professional doctors would prescribe them with their medications that they would need for the amount of time that they would need it. So 2 capsules a day of this medication, 3 bags of this. And then there was charla, which is where we would speak to them, or the little kids, about their oral hygiene and what is good to eat, what isn't. For us, it's basic knowledge. For them, it isn't. And they don't have all the nutrients that they need to maintain their health perfectly fine like we do. We would give them fluoride treatments, and we'd give them a toothbrush and a toothpaste so they can maintain their oral hygiene. A lot of the teeth are decayed, and it's very sad to see that. And then there was a dental station, which is where professional dentists would go and they perform surgeries. They rip out their teeth, they do fillings, they do cleanings, and make sure that everyone's teeth is better than it was before, at least. Then there was gynecology station, which obviously is gynecology for the women. The boys weren't allowed to work in gynecology for obvious reasons, but the females were. I was lucky enough to learn a lot from the doctor who explained everything thoroughly with me in the gynecology station. And last was the pharmacy station, where we would hand out packets to them of all the medication that was prescribed to them in consultation and explain to them how to take the medication properly. And at the end, we would go back to our compound and we would set up medical records for them for future brigades that go and help them, so that way they don't interfere with other medications that they had taken before. So that was the medical and the dental brigade. Those were about the first 6 days. After those, we traveled to our public health section of Honduras, where we would go and we would build the families a hygiene station where they could maintain all of their clean water, they could clean their clothes, and they can use the restroom and shower or bathe not in the wilderness that they used to before, but in a closed, more clean environment. We closed up a septic tank that will hold the amount of whatever they flush down from their hygiene station for about 20 years. So it gives them a lot of, it avoids the whole germ process. There's no bugs flying around in their house anymore. They don't have to get worried about bacteria. We place cement on their floors instead of them having to kick up the dirt when they walk in their houses and breathe in that dirt and have lung problems. And finally, we would build them from scratch the eco stove that you will see in the video. And it helps because it's all made out of concrete and it releases the smoke outside of their house instead of inside of their house, so they don't have to breathe in that smoke. So for us, we did these 4 things in a matter of 3 days with construction workers helping us. And for us, it's fun and, you know, it's an experience and it's different. But for them, the families were really grateful, and the mothers and the grandmothers and the children were really excited that we were doing a work for them that will change their lives forever, because that's staying there forever and their communities are getting revolutionized. And so that's the work that we did, and without further ado, I will show you the video that I shot in Honduras, and you can get a better look of what exactly we did. So that is our group that we went to Honduras with from Miami.
I cannot. She'll talk.
We had our connecting flight to Atlanta before arriving to Tegucigalpa.
Surprised you had to connect.
Yeah. And now we are arriving at the Tegucigalpa airport. It is very traditional. There isn't a lot of, it's not very developed. The landing is mountain, and then you hit the land strip. It's very scary.
That's the road?
Yes.
There was a point where we drove over water. That was new. This is the house that we stayed in for our destination in the medical brigade. There are about 14 bunk beds, or 7 bunk beds, so 14 girls per room. It's very crowded, but no complaints from anyone. Everyone was very excited to work. And so this is a little bit of what the Honduras kind of looks like. This is the more upscale Honduras, because we stayed far away from the poverty areas. But we were fed food every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We had people making food for us. And for the first day, like I said, we sorted out all the medications. Each bag had about 100 types of medications, or 100 capsules of medications that we would distribute to the communities. We would clean out these sorters and pour out the medication like you're seeing now and count them one by one. And there would be those huge ones, they would be in bulks. And so for aspirins, we would have to count 90s and we'd put them in a little bag and label them. And then all of this would be later packed onto the truck where we would drive to the schools where the medical centers would be set up and distribute to each local. Oh yeah. So, someone earlier asked me about the security if I felt safe because Honduras, as you all know, isn't the safest country to go visit at this moment. So, we had about 10 army soldiers who you saw, the security, protect us at all times. So we were never walking without an army soldier with us. So when we were hiking, at the end you'll see that one of the securities is at the end, making sure that everyone is safe, just in case, precautions. We are American. Every time you would visit a new community, we would have a meeting in the beginning, telling us a little bit about their culture and about how things work so we wouldn't have to be completely lost because it's nothing like here in the United States. This is one of the houses that one of the locals lives in. As you can see, there isn't concrete on the walls, there isn't concrete on the floors, and so she has lung problems because of that. And she lives about 1 hour away from where we parked, and so we had to hike about an hour to get to her house, and she has to walk an hour to the river before she had running water in her home. After every night, we would have a meeting telling us what we would do the next day. And so planning and strategizing, so the next day after this, we would go to our medical, school, well, to the schools to perform our medical clinics. And that is the first one. That is the pharmacy station where we would open up all the luggages that we had already sorted out and distribute that later on to the locals. So we would get the consultation papers saying this is the medication they need, pick it up, get every single medication, put them in a bag, and hand them out individually to each local and translate what the medication was to them. And everyone's really friendly. They're all so happy that you're helping them. They all want to talk to you and get to know why you're doing this. You know, why is a student from the United States traveling all the way over here to help us? They're very grateful. They don't know why, but they know that we are. This is triage. This is where we would ask them about their family history, and I was the translator in this case. Many of the students who went with us in Honduras didn't speak English. They were all medical students, so they wanted to get experience, but they didn't speak Spanish. They all spoke English, and so I had to translate to them, and that's us on the bus. So after the busy day of work in the medical compound, we would have to drive all the way back, 2 hours, exhausted, and then continue the same thing the next day. It was all worth it, I promise. The lines got longer and longer every time, and everyone knows what Global Brigades is in Honduras. It's fascinating. Every time we would pull up, they would start clapping and cheering. This is the dental station. All of these, yeah. Oh yeah.
Your thing that looks really good.
This is the cleanings and the fillings. That's the extraction of the teeth. And as you can see, they're all very decayed teeth. A lot of large cavities. So that's why we would do the fluoride treatment on all the children. It's easier to change a child's habits than an adult's. This is the data informatics. So as I said, we create medical records for each person so that way they can present it next time and have an accurate result. And this is Charla, where we will teach the kids how to take care of their bodies and their oral hygiene. We would make a little song for them and we would sing it out for them so that way it would get stuck in their head. We sang it about like 50 times. I'm very excited. So each student would get involved. And we would ask them questions, what foods do you think you can eat every day? What foods don't you think you can eat every day? You should eat fruits, you shouldn't be drinking sodas. This is how you brush your teeth, in the front, in the back, make sure to get your tongue. And now we sat them all out and we gave them a toothbrush and toothpaste. And what he's doing is he's using the toothbrush to brush in his fluoride treatment. And so the water that we have here is filtered and it's clean, and that's why our teeth are perfect and pearly. But they don't have that water, and so we would have to, give them fluoride treatments to help their teeth stay strong. And every night we would have.
How many people did we have today, Jessica?
517. Every night we would have 50 people lined up with laptops connected to a server, and everyone just creating medical records. We worked for about 12 to 14 hours a day for about 10 days. And it's exhausting, but it was so rewarding because no one complained at all. Everyone sat down, we pulled up our laptops, we all did the medical records, and we're all so happy. It's just, you see a sense of community when everyone works together and no one complains. And this is a close-up of the gun. Now we are hiking to meet the families for the public health part of the brigade. A lot of the places the truck couldn't reach because they live on mountains. It's very secluded areas, and so we would have to hike a lot to reach to those homes. And the families would meet us, and we'd get to know them before we would start working with them. And this is the more personal side of the brigade. We get to sit with families and talk to them while we're working with them, and the dad is helping. That is the previous septic tank. It's open, and so all the bacteria is out in the open, and they don't have an area to use the restroom until we got started. Everything is by hand. We don't have the machines to make the concrete. We would have to stir the concrete, sand, water, sand, water. And so for every home that we did, there was they would break it up into groups of 9 people, 9 students, and we would make the stove, we'd make the septic tank, the hygiene station, and the floor, which you're going to see each one. So that is the floor that they're doing from scratch. They would put concrete, because before it was dirt, then it was concrete. That is the eco stove that they're building, and that is the hygiene station. And we had workers guide us in the process because we don't know how to build stoves. And so they would say, okay, do this, do that, go. And we'd all just go and make 15 piles of concrete and start making the hygiene station. They teach us exactly how to do it, and I would have to translate. The lunches that you see that we eat are brought to us by trucks from our house that we stayed at. The families obviously were going to feed 9 students if they don't have enough food for themselves, and so we brought food over and they would feed us every day at a certain hour, a good amount, so we always had that energy rolling in. And then we took a quick pick stop to another school in the public health compound to teach them more about oral hygiene and really try to get to them to change their ways of living, because once I said, adults already know what they're doing in life, or at least they think they know in this case, and it's a lot harder to change their ways than it is for kids. That's why we focus on the kids so much. And we gave them a soccer ball to play. They're all really good at soccer. And then soccer. And the good thing about Global Brigades is that they really wanted to promote that even though there is a lot of poverty in Honduras, they really wanted to show us the more beautiful side of it. And so they took us sightseeing to the beach, and then we went back to public health. And this is the last day of work. The stove is almost done, the floor is almost done, the hygiene station's almost done. Each family had kids, a lot of them. You missed school today, but be with us. You missed school today, but be with us. The kids of each family, this family in particular, was a family that was very liked by the community. So at the last day, we had about 12 kids just surrounding us and hugging us and didn't want us to leave. This is the tank to clean their clothes, and this is the inside of the hygiene station. So there's a toilet, there's a little shower area. They take out the water from the inside and they pour it on themselves. It's not very sophisticated, but it is enough for them. After we close the septic tank, we would put our handprints on the concrete and sign it so they could have a memory of us and what work we did for them. And that is their house. That is the finished product. And the mom was so excited that she got a new stove that we weren't even done with the stove, and she had already put fajitas to be made on the stove. That's the final product of the hygiene station. You have a nice little door. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Juan y Ariela. And they are my favorite two little kids here. They're part of the family that we are working with. The family has a house that is pretty small and pretty damaged, and what we're doing is we're making a hygiene station for them. We're building one where they can take showers and they can use the restroom and wash their hands and clothes instead of going in the middle of the woods and doing that. So it's kind of like bringing them a little bit of their humanity back, and also giving us a little bit more of our humanity because we get to see a change in their lives. We just finished up with the hygiene station now, and we just finished with the eco stove, which allows them to not have to breathe in that smoke after they cook meals and all. And they're so happy, and the first thing that the mom did was make us tortillas, and it was heartwarming to see how thankful and grateful they are for us to come out here and help them. Dile hola para la cámara. Hola. So we are officially done with our brigade. We finished our hygiene station and our eco stove along with the floor and the septum tank. And I want to give a huge thank you to Rotary Club of Miami for sponsoring me and allowing me to have this fantastic life-changing experience, which it truly holds a place in my heart for the rest of my life. The family that we got to work with is absolutely amazing, and we did so much community service work in dental and medical and public health, and it was completely worth it. So thank you so much to Rotary for sponsoring me, and for Global Medical Brigades and Global Public Health Brigades for allowing the opportunity for us to come out here and make a change in the world, even if it was a small one. Thank you.